Wait, what is that? The man's voice cracks through the frozen silence. Another man kneels beside him, brushing away layers of snow. It's not a rock, he whispers. This is Yakutia, the coldest inhabited place on Earth, where temperatures drops to minus 71 degrees Celsius. A place so cold that steel shatters like glass, and even your own breath can burn you. The hunters had seen many strange things in this frozen world, but never this. Beneath the thick ice lay something massive, gray, rough and motionless creature. At first, they thought it was a whale, but whales don't live here. It was a walrus, a giant one over 6,000 kilograms of frozen flesh and bone, a creature that should have been hundreds of kilometers away, trapped now in a land where even birds refuse to fly. The men stood in silence. How did it get here? Was it carried here by melting glaciers? Did it wander off before the ice swallowed it? This something no one could explain. As word spread, the villagers came. Old women wrapped in furs, children with red faces, men carrying axes and ropes. Some said it was a sign from the spirits, because out here, survival is never guaranteed. Food runs out, roads disappear, and the cold does not forgive. And as they stood around the frozen beast, one thought echoed through everyone's mind, that what now? What those people decided will spark one of the strangest stories ever told in the frozen lands of Siberia. A story of hunger, and a creature that fed an entire village. Stay with me. Because what happened after this discovery will make you question everything you thought you knew about survival. When you wake up here, you don't check the weather, an old man once said, because it's always the same, freezing. Welcome to Yakutia, which is also known as the Sakha Republic. Located deep in the heart of Siberia, scientists and explorers call it the coldest inhabited region on Earth. Temperatures here have fallen as low as minus 71.2 degrees Celsius. Officially recorded in the village of Oymyakon, a place so cold that boiling water turns into snow before it hits the ground. The land here looks endless, a white ocean of snow stretching farther than the eye can see. The rivers here are not rivers anymore. They are solid, silent roads of ice. The weight of frost makes the tree bend, their branches sparkling like glass. The wooden houses here are low and heavy. They are built to fight the wind, and their roofs are buried under layers of snow that never melt. Smoke from the chimneys curls into the pale sky. Every sound feels sharper here. A single footstep, a crack of ice, the low groan of a frozen river, they all echo for miles. Cars here run all day and all night, because once you turn them off, they might never start again. People wrap scarves over their faces until only their eyes are visible, and even those can freeze shut in seconds. You can't cry outside, your tears will turn to ice before they touch your cheeks. Batteries die, steel snaps, and even plastic becomes brittle from the cold. Yet, somehow, people live here. Around 1 million of them. Miners, herders, hunters, and families who have called this land home for centuries. They are quiet people, strong and proud. They don't complain. Life here is built on trust and community. Neighbors look after each other. Out here, one mistake, one broken heater, one frozen pipe can make death come close to you. There are no cities glowing in the night, no highways full of cars, just some scattered villages. Sometimes, for weeks, people are cut off completely from each other. No phone signal, no road, no help. Only the sound of wind and the knowledge that you're completely alone in the middle of the frozen earth. But ask anyone here if they want to leave, and they'll shake their head and say, "No, this is our home," they'll say. "We were born in the cold. We know how to live with it." And it's in this world, where even time seems frozen, that something unbelievable was found. Something that broke the silence of Yakutia and literally brought the whole village together. A giant creature, which was hidden beneath the ice for who knows how long, and it was waiting to be discovered. Hold on, do you see that? The voice broke the stillness of the tundra. 3 hunters were moving slowly across the frozen river, checking their ice traps like they did every week. The temperature that morning had dropped below -60 degrees Celsius, the kind of cold that makes your breath turn solid and hang in the air like smoke. One of the men, Mikhail, stopped first. He saw something unusual. At first, he thought it was a frozen log, which is very common in winter when the river carried debris before freezing. But as they moved closer, the wind shifted, and a patch of dark brown appeared through the snow. "That's not wood," Mikhail said. "It looks like skin." One of the men brushed more snow away with his glove. The surface underneath was rough, rubbery, and stretched. His hand trembled slightly. "What is this?" They kept digging, using the ends of their axes to chip away at the frozen crust. Inch by inch, the shape began to reveal itself wide, curved, and enormous. Then suddenly, one of the hunters gasped. "Look!" he shouted, pointing. It wasn't just big, it was monstrous. A creature larger than anything they had ever seen, locked inside the ice and like a sleeping giant. "It's a walrus." That didn't make sense. Walruses were creatures of the Arctic Ocean, not Siberia. The nearest coastline was hundreds of kilometers away. No record, not even among scientists from the Yakutsk Mammoth Museum, mentioned walruses this far south. The men knew instantly that whatever they'd found, it didn't belong here. Fear mixed with curiosity. They circled around it, their boots crunching over snow. The creature's massive body seemed frozen mid-motion, as if it had struggled before being swallowed by the cold, frost crystals covered its face and its eyes. "Is it alive?" one of the younger hunters asked. "Not a chance," said Mikhail, shaking his head. "Look at it. It's been here for years, maybe decades." They stood there for a long moment, saying nothing. Finally, one of them broke the silence. "Should we tell the others?" "We have to," Mikhail said. "People won't believe us unless they see it." The walrus began to move, just slightly, but enough to make the crowd gasp. And then, with one final pull, the giant body broke free. It landed with a deep thud that made the ground vibrate. People stepped back, staring it in disbelief. The full size of the creature was clear in the torchlight. Its tusks shone, and its huge body lay across the frozen ground. Even while lying, it looked strong and ancient. "It's bigger than a truck." For a moment, no one spoke, because no words could describe what they were seeing. Its body stretched nearly 12 feet long, its skin rough and gray. It was frozen under a thick crust of ice. The tusks were enormous, each one longer than a man's arm. Its eyes were open, glassy and frozen, staring into nothingness. Children hid behind their parents because they were afraid the silence around the body felt heavy. A woman whispered, "Why here? Walruses don't live this far inland." And she was right. According to Russian Arctic researchers, walruses are typically found near coastal waters, in the icy seas around the Arctic Ocean, not hundreds of miles deep in the frozen forests of Yakutia. For a creature of the sea to end up here was nearly impossible. Some villagers began to talk in low voices. A few said it must be a sign from nature, maybe a warning, maybe a gift. What they felt was awe. One man laughed nervously, wiping frost from his beard. 6,000 kilograms of meat, he said, half joking. But the truth is that food meant survival here. A few people began to touch the creature's skin, brushing off ice crystals. Someone said, "Maybe it came to us for a reason." As word spread, people even from the nearby villages began arriving, wrapped in layers of wool and fur, traveling through the snow for hours just to see the frozen giant. To them, it was a miracle, something no one could have imagined finding in this land of silence and cold. That night, villagers sat around small fires, retelling what they had seen. Some laughed in disbelief. Others prayed quietly. The discovery had changed something in them, the way they saw their land, their fate, their survival. And yet, this was only the beginning, because soon this frozen beast would become more than a story. "We can't leave it there," said Ivan. His voice was steady but heavy with worry. "But can we even use it? Who will decide?" Inside the small meeting house, the elders of the village gathered. Food had been running low for weeks, The harsh winter had destroyed everything. Ice had frozen the rivers too early for fishing, and the stores in Yakutsk were hours, sometimes days away. Families were rationing every scrap of meat and grain. Here, every meal is survival. It was not a decision made lightly. Some of them were worried about breaking laws or disturbing nature. But survival, the cold reality of life here, outweighed everything else. The choice was clear. The giant walrus would feed the village. By morning, the entire community had gathered near the frozen river. Axes, knives, and saws were brought forward. Knives cracked against frozen skin, the sound echoing across the snow like distant thunder. They carried big pieces of meat to wooden sleds. Everyone helped. Men chopped, women wrapped the meat, and even children carried firewood to keep the fires burning. Every action had meaning. In this land, cooperation is survival. Every piece of meat would be rationed carefully. Nothing could be wasted. Smoke rose from the small grills, curling into the cold sky. The smell of cooked walrus spread through the village, strange but nice, salty and smoky, like the ocean in the snow. The villagers moved as one. Some worked in silence, faces pale from frostbite and exhaustion. Others laughed quietly, a release of tension after hours of chopping. Elders prayed softly, saying thanks for what nature had provided. There was sorrow too. Taking the life of such a massive, majestic creature was not easy. As night fell, fires burned brighter. The wind continued its relentless howl, but within the village, warmth and the scent of cooked meat brought comfort. People shared stories, laughter, and hope, passing food from hand to hand. In the midst of the harshest winter on Earth, the frozen walrus had become more than meat. It had become a symbol of unity. For days, smoke rose above the snow, carrying the salty, smoky smell across the village. Everyone could smell it. A reminder that even in the coldest, loneliest places, life keeps going. "This will keep us fed for weeks," Mikhail said, placing a large slab of meat on the sled. "And more than that, it reminds us that we are never truly alone here." From that moment on, the frozen walrus was no longer just a creature trapped in ice. It had become the lifeline of an entire village, a story that would be remembered for generations. The village sat together, once silent under layers of snow, now filled with life. Flames from small fires danced across faces wrapped in furs and wool. Children ran between them, cheeks red from the cold, laughing as their parents handed out warm pieces of meat. The smell of smoke mixed with the salty, ocean-like aroma of cooked walrus, filling the frozen air with a strange but comforting warmth. For weeks, the villagers had gone hungry, counting every scrap of food. Now, with the frozen giant turned into a feast, joy spread like wildfire. People pressed close to the fires, hands stretching toward the heat. Steam rose from mugs of hot tea and from freshly roasted meat. Every bite felt like a victory, every sip a triumph over the relentless winter. "It tastes like life," whispered one woman, smiling at her children as they devoured the meat. Families gathered in small groups, sharing not just food but stories. Elders spoke of ancestors who had survived impossible winters in this unforgiving land. Tales of frozen rivers, hunting trips that could mean life or death, and meals that were worth more than gold. People laughed and joked, a release of tension after days of fear and struggle. Some quietly shed tears of relief, knowing they would not go hungry tonight. His walrus had saved them, not just from hunger, but from despair. "In a land this cold," Mikhail said, lifting his mug to the sky, "every meal is a victory." The celebrations went on late into the night. Fires burned bright. Even the youngest children, who had stayed indoors for weeks, felt the warmth of being together. For a little while, the cold didn't matter. The wind could howl, the ice could crack, and the dark could stay. But the people of Yakutia were together, fed and alive. The story of the frozen walrus in Yakutia is more than a tale of survival. It is a story about human resilience, community, and the deep respect people have for nature. In a place where minus 71 degrees Celsius is normal, life is fragile, and every meal, every warmth from a fire, every shared moment matters. The villagers showed that even in the harshest, most unforgiving conditions, unity and courage can turn the impossible into hope. They didn't just find a creature in the ice. They discovered a way to survive together, to care for each other, and to respect the gifts that nature provides. It is a reminder that life in the extremes demands not just strength, but heart. If this story gave you chills, make sure to hit the subscribe button and turn on the bell icon, because more unbelievable stories from the world's coldest, wildest, and most mysterious places are coming soon.